Jackson Work back out onto the rubber for the Peninsula Pilots here as we begin the top half of the second inning. No score between the Edenton Steamers and the Peninsula Pilots in this Eastern Division semifinal round. One game elimination here in this round. The next two rounds, including the Division Championship and the Pettit Cup Championship, those will be three-game series, but tonight just a one-game elimination for both of these clubs. So the Steamers coming in needing a win here at Peninsula. Jackson Work on the rubber, and he'll face Billy Wilson, who was at the plate when Jason Agresti got thrown out at second after not being able to read the pass ball in the dirt. And that will make it 0-1 on Billy Wilson at the plate. Wilson so far this summer, a .322 average for the Edenton Steamers, 49 games that he's played in for the club, and he has been the spark plug for this Edenton Steamers team. And the 0-1 pitch on the way from Work is fouled off and almost got James Batley over there on deck. But the count is 0-2. Now on Billy Wilson at the plate. Wilson leading the club in many different statistical categories, including runs with 56. He's got the lead in doubles at 12. Also the lead in triples at 4, and the home runs with 13. 0-2 on Billy Wilson. Here's the pitch on the way from Jackson Work. That one misses upstairs for a ball, and the count is 1-2 on Wilson at the plate. Wilson, don't be fooled by the 58 runs, also with a lot of production, 41 RBIs as well for Edenton this summer. Work much different than Nick Wegman. Wegman working very quickly out there on the mound. Jackson Work taking a lot of time in between pitches. And the 1-2. Down in the dirt, it's 2-2. Billy Wilson so far this summer has drawn 36 walks. That's second on the team. Up near the top of the CPL in that category. There's very few offensive statistical categories that Billy Wilson is not at the top or near the top for Edenton this summer. James Batley, who waits on deck, has had a rough go of things his last 18 at-bats. The 2-2 pitch on the way to Wilson. Down in the dirt and away, and the count will be full 3-2. So Billy Wilson, after falling behind 0-2, has worked it all the way back full. And Jackson Work desperately trying to not allow Wilson on the base pass. Guy who's 26 of 29 on stolen bases. And that's going to be crucial in this ball game for both sides, is keeping runners off base. The 3-2. That one misses outside for a ball. Logan Brown doing his best job to try and frame that. But the home plate umpire not fooled, and Billy Wilson will be aboard. So Billy Wilson reaches base, and Edenton will have the leadoff man aboard here to begin this top half of the second inning. Now it's James Batley that will come to the plate, and Batley definitely not going to want to remember the end of this second half of the season for the Steamers. He was just one of 17 in his last 18 plate appearances for the Steamers. In on the grass is Nathan Eaton trying to guard the bunt. Wilson with a very big lead over at first. They throw back. He's back in time. And Billy Wilson just creeping off of first base, and luckily worked through over there, or else Wilson probably would have taken off on the pitch. Batley steps back into the box. The switch hitter hitting from the left side against the righty Work. And the pitch on the way to Batley is swung on and hit down the left field line. That one will get out of play. And the count will move to 0-1 on James Batley. Batley so far at the dish this year hitting .300. Of course, came in just a few games ago hitting at .315 on the year, so the average had started to tumble for James Batley. The 0-1 pitch said to come, and instead they throw over to check on Wilson, who's back in time. Following Batley in the order will be Tristan Carranza. Regardless of what happens for Edenton today, the Steamers will lose Tristan Carranza after tonight's contest. He'll be heading back to New Mexico State to finish up his final season as a member of the Aggies. They throw over and check on Wilson again. He's back in plenty of time. And Jackson Work being very careful with Billy Wilson over at first base. And especially with these two teams, it's always important to keep these runners on and hold them very carefully. Work sets and fires to Batley. Misses high and outside for a ball, and they count 1-1 on James Batley at the plate. Steamers have not use the bunt very much to try and move runners over, especially with this power offense that they have so far this summer. Work is set on the bump once again, and the 1-1 pitch set to come to Batley. Swung on and missed. It's 1-2. Good fastball that time from Jackson Work, and he moves ahead of James Batley. Of course, was ahead of Billy Wilson in the count, and Wilson ended up drawing a walk. The 1-2 set to come to James Batley. They throw over again to check on Wilson. So Wilson back in time as well. And Batley trying to stay alive at a 1-2 count. Edenton, the last time that they were here against Peninsula, it was a bit of a rough go of things at the end of the year. Pitch misses high for a ball, and the count will move to 2-2 on James Batley. But for the Steamers, they fell in that contest 7-1 and ended up having William Robbins throw at the end of that ball game after Josh Steele went 8 innings, 7+ in that one, did not record an out in the 8th. And then William Robbins came into the bottom half of the 8th inning for Edenton. They throw over to check on Billy Wilson again. That game actually got them into the postseason. Of course, with a win, they would have gotten in automatically, but with a Morehead City 2-0 loss to Wilmington, the Steamers were able to find their way as a 4 seed in the CPL playoffs. Pitch on the way to Batley, misses high and outside. It's 3-2. So 3-2 the count on James Batley at the dish. So far in Forest City, a bit of a surprise here. Gastonia on top of Forest City 2-0 in the bottom half of the second inning. Of course, Forest City coming in as the number 1 overall seed in the CPL. The 3-2 misses high and outside, and James Batley aboard to the walk. So back-to-back walks for Jackson Work, and he's lost both of those hitters with at least 1 and 2 counts. And that brings Tristan Carranza to the plate for Edenton. So the New Mexico State product will come to the dish with a opportunity to move some guys over here in this spot with nobody out in the top half of the second frame. And lots of speed on the base paths for Edenton. Of course, Billy Wilson, who I mentioned, had 26 stolen bases during the regular season. James Batley followed closely behind with 21 on the year. Corners are in with Tristan Carranza at the plate, and he will square. Bunt by Carranza. It's right to the pitcher, Work, and Work bobbles it. And the throw to first. He's got no play. Carranza beats it out. So Jackson Work with the bobble, and we'll see what they score that. But Work not happy, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. And Nick Wilson coming to the plate for Edenton. They are going to rule that an error on the pitcher, Jackson Work. So Work with the error that time, and Nick Wilson will come to the plate for the Steamers. So Nick Wilson, the new guy for Edenton, steps into the box and ready to face the righty Jackson Work for the first time this summer. First pitch to him, misses down low, and the count is 1-0 on Nick Wilson at the plate. Wilson has only played in 4 games so far this summer. Of course, came over from Kernersville in the Carolina-Virginia League. And that Kernersville team, an over 40-win team and single-digit losses on the year. The 1-0 to him is swung on and chopped back up the middle. Griggs, it goes under his glove. Coming in to score is Billy Wilson. Around third is Batley. The throw not in time. The Steamers lead it 2-0 on the 2 RBI single by Nick Wilson. So Nick Wilson comes up big. That's his 5th RBI of the year. 4 and 5 as he brings in Wilson and Batley. And with nobody out in the inning, the Steamers still with runners at first and second. And William Robbins, the designated hitter, will come to the plate. So Robbins will step into the box, the designated hitter tonight for the Steamers. Out of Francis Marion. And Edenton with the early 2-0 lead. Robbins going to square around here for the Steamers and give himself up. Pitch down in there for his strike. A little bit low, but Robbins takes it anyway, and the count is 0-1 on Robbins at the plate. So 0-1 the count on Robbins. And he squared around the first time. We'll see if he does it one more, and he will. So Robbins going to give himself up trying to advance the runners. Pitch on the way, and Robbins pulls it back. It's 1-1. We'll see if Logan Brown checks. They will. And ask if he went. He did not go, so it's 1-1 on Robbins at the plate. So just as I had mentioned, Edenton doesn't really use the bunt very much to move guys over. The Steamers obviously going with a bit of a different approach here in the playoffs to try and push runners into scoring position, and knowing how important runs are against Peninsula. Pitch on the way to Robbins, and he bunts this one off of his body, foul. As they say, he was in the box, so Robbins bunts it foul off his body, and the count is 1-2. And that just looked unfortunate there for William Robbins after it was going to be a very solid bunt, and right as he kind of moved that foot to try and go run, which he stayed in the box, but it hit right off the side of his foot. And the count will move to 1-2 on William Robbins, so we'll see if head coach Dustin Kaufman still puts the bunt sign on, or if Robbins will swing away here. Following William Robbins will be Paul Rufo for Edenton. Righty Jackson Works set on the bump. And the pitch on the way to Robbins. That one in there for a called third strike. Robbins goes down looking. So William Robbins down on strikes on a good off-speed pitch that time from Jackson Work. And that'll bring Paul Rufo out of Binghamton, the shortstop for the Steamers, to the plate. Rufo, another late addition to this Edenton club. Not a guy that was supposed to come down to the Steamers this summer after nursing a wrist injury for Binghamton this year. And was a guy who the Bearcats relied on the majority of the way during his previous campaign. Pitch on the way to him is inside for a ball, and the count is 1-0. Had such a successful year that he was headed up to the Cape as a temporary player for the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. And after success up there, moved to the NECBL after his contract was up. The 1-0. That one in there for his strike to make it 1-1 on an 88-mile-an-hour heater, that time from Jackson Work. And as expected, warming up down in the bullpen is the lefty Colt Harlow. Looks like who's throwing down in that Peninsula bullpen. The 1-1. Carranza creeping off of second. Pitch on the way to Rufo is swung on and fouled off to make it 1-2. So now Edenton, I had mentioned prior to the Robbins foul ball bunt off of his foot, runs against Peninsula are very hard to come by. And when you get in a situation like this, the Steamers are definitely wanting to find a way to at least add some insurance. As both these teams know, a 2-run deficit in this ball game means absolutely nothing. The 1-2. And it's swung on and missed by Rufo. Down he goes on strikes. A good changeup down in the zone by Jackson Work, and Rufo swung right over top of it. And there's 2 down in the inning, and quickly they're letting, I believe it's Harlow, know that he's got to be ready soon. And Anthony Maselli will step to the plate for Edenton. Maselli broke his bat in his first plate appearance in the top half of the first frame and grounded out to second. Jackson Work set on the bump and ready to fire to Maselli. Here's the first offering. Swung on and fouled off. It's 0-1 on Maselli. Maselli, again, the average only at 247, but the RBI production has been there. 34 RBIs for Anthony Maselli so far this summer. Also has 7 home runs, including one over the left field wall right here at War Memorial Stadium. Next pitch misses down in the zone, and the count is 1-1. And Jackson Work touching 90 with that fastball. And now a 1-1 count on Anthony Maselli. Tristan Carranza at second. Nick Wilson is at first. The Steamers in front 2-0 here in the top of the second inning. I'm Elijah Gonzalez here for all the action of Game 1 of the East Division semifinal. Winner go home. The 1-1 is swung on and hit back up the middle. Griggs will field out behind the bag and just step on the bag, and the out is recorded, and the inning is over. But Peninsula gives up 2 on the 2 RBI single by the new guy, Nick Wilson. Edenton takes the advantage. You're listening to Steamers Baseball right here on the Edenton Steamers Baseball Network as we head to the bottom half of the second inning. Nick Wegman steps back onto the rubber, and the first pitch is in there for his strike to Drew Del Signor. And the count moves to 0-1 on Del Signor at the plate. The Edenton Steamers in front 2-0 here in the bottom half of the second inning. And it's thanks to Nick Wilson, the man at first base, a 2 RBI single. Good changeup that time from Nick Wegman. He had Drew Del Signor way out in front. And it makes the count 0-2 on Del Signor at the plate. So Del Signor's had a lot of success against left-handed pitching so far this summer. Is down 0-2, and he swings through a breaking ball that time from Wegman, and down he goes on strikes. So Wegman coming in and going right at Del Signor and gets the 3-pitch strikeout, and there's one down in the inning. It brings the left-handed catcher Logan Brown to the plate. So Logan Brown will step into the box for the Peninsula Pilots. Brown, another guy that is not played in a lot of games for Peninsula so far this summer, just 5 and has 3 starts on the year. And the first pitch is down in the dirt in the count 1-0 on Brown at the plate. That time a splitter from Wegman that got away from him there a little bit. And here's the 1-0 to Brown. Swung on and hit on the ground towards second. Fielded by Maselli on 2 knees, and then he gets up and fires to first in time. And there's 2 down in the inning. So 2 down in the frame, and that will send the next hitter to the plate for the Peninsula Pilots, and it's Nathan Eaton starting at third base tonight for the Pilots. Of course, that third base position for Peninsula so far this summer has been a bit of a revolving door. Nathan Eaton's got a couple of starts there. Zach Ching has also started there a few times. And here's the first offering on the way to Nathan Eaton. Misses high and outside for a ball, and the count is 1-0. Kyle Wright, who's on deck, also has a start at third base so far this summer, and it came against the Edenton Steamers. And then moved over to second base after the departure of Jonathan Embry. Pitch misses down low for a ball, and the count is 2-0 after Embry was hit and had to exit the game. And Jonathan Embry no longer with the club, the 2-0. That one is low for a ball, and it's 3-0. Now on Nathan Eaton after the 87-mile-an-hour fastball from Wegman misses. And we'll see if Jackson Work is done for the night or if he comes back out. But the 3-0 pitch on the way, and that one in there for his strike, and Eaton going to have to come back. Nathan Eaton thought that pitch was a couple inches off the plate. And he was about a quarter of the way down to first base when the home plate umpire, Caleb Devier, decided that it was a strike in the outside corner. And it's 3-1. Here's the offering from Wegman. That one misses outside for a ball, and Eaton is aboard. So with 2 down in the inning, the Pilots get their first base runner of the bottom half of the second, and that brings Kyle Wright to the plate. So Kyle Wright will step in. It'll move back to the top of the order with Buddy Johnson following Wright. And Wegman, of course, you see a lot of guys that struggle a little bit with right-handed hitting as a left-handed pitcher. But Nick Wegman has definitely been very successful against righties this year, and talked about that on the broadcast, about how he loves to pitch against righties. Not really a guy that likes to see lefties very much. Pitch in there for his strike, and the count is 0-1 on a fastball down at the knees by Wegman. And Kyle Wright will step into the box. Of course, the Peninsula Pilots with some late pickups, including the man at the plate, Kyle Wright. .435 average in 7 games. He started every single one of them. Was a Peninsula Pilot in 2016 as well. Wright swings and hits this one out in the right field for a base hit. Ayers will field and bobble, and heading to third is Nathan Eaton. So now it's runners at the corners with 2 down in the frame after Ayers bobbled the baseball out in right, and it allows Eaton to move to third. So Ayers with a very uncharacteristic play out there in right, and that brings Buddy Johnson to the plate with 2 down in the inning. So Johnson will step to the box. And Buddy Johnson went down on strikes in his first plate appearance so far in this ball game. And trying to not duplicate that here and keep this inning alive. Steamers in front 2-0. And now in the first 2 frames, the Peninsula Pilots have had 2 runners aboard in both innings. And it was thanks to back-to-back singles in both these frames. Swing and a miss that time by Buddy Johnson, and the count is 0-1. For Johnson, he also was a guy that was a late addition. 5 games that he's played in 4 starts. And, of course, his first game was played against the Edenton Steamers, and it was a 3-for-5 night with 2 stolen bases for Buddy Johnson. The 0-1 is swung on, popped up in foul territory on the first base side. Wilson chasing, can't get there. And the count moved to 0-2 on Buddy Johnson. So Nick Wilson, good hustle that time, but unable to corral that one. And lots of rain. It's a wet night here in Peninsula. Lots of rain that came earlier this afternoon and also early this morning. And the Pilots doing a good job of getting the field ready for the ball game tonight, putting down lots of quick dry, making sure that this thing was ready to go for the 7:15 start. The 0-2 pitch set to come to Buddy Johnson, and Wegman will step off after Wright was dancing around over at first base. Wegman set at the belt, the 0-2. Breaking ball misses outside, and it's 1-2. No action down in the Steamer bullpen. Coming in for the Pilots, they knew that Jackson Work was going to be on some sort of pitch count and innings limits. For the Peninsula Pilots, they throw over to check on Kyle Wright, who's back in time. One and two on Buddy Johnson at the plate. Eaton on third, Wright at first. The pitch on the way. Swing and a miss that time by Johnson. Down he goes on strikes. And Nick Wegman out of another jam. So Wegman doing a good job, and that's the second strikeout by Buddy Johnson of the ball game. Steamers in front 2-0 as we head to the top of the third inning. You'll see Steamers baseball right here on the Edenton Steamers Baseball Network.